There comes a time in every lifter's career where you're going to lift weights for the last time, and for some people, this is because of injury. And the number one injury is back pain. In this video, I'm going to talk about one key concept that can not only make you stronger, but increase your longevity of lifting. And with that concept, we're going to look at 4 different exercises to really hone it in. It's hip extension. When we look at the squat and the deadlift, hip extension is vital for locking out. When we look at your bench press, the more hip extension you have, the bigger arch you can get, making your lift even stronger as well. So why is hip extension so important? Well, let's look at the model here. So instead of just the femur extending back like it should, for a lot of people, the pelvis will actually tip forward, putting your hip into a relative hip flexion. From here, the femur just now has to go into neutral in order for you to get this extension. So if that didn't make a whole lot of sense, how about this? We need our glutes to provide hip extension, not our low back. So these next 4 exercises are actually going to teach your glutes how to extend your hip rather than letting your low back do it. Real quick before we get into the 4 drills, if you find this content interesting, please let me know by giving this video a like. So let's look at the first exercise, and that is a prone hip extension. For this one, you want to place a pillow underneath your pelvis to get you into that relative hip flexion position we talked about. So we're going to cheat a little bit, start into a little bit of flexion so we have some room to go. Now with this exercise and all these exercises, it's going to be very important to keep your core locked in and stable. For this one, you can place a foam roller, a shoe, or even a water bottle on your low back. And that item should not tip side to side. That's a huge key that your core is not stable and that your low back is doing the work and not your hips. For this exercise, we're looking to build endurance. So for this, you can do 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 20 reps, and you'll be good. Now your next exercise is rolling. I consider prone hip extension 1A, and this is going to be 1B. When it comes to squatting and deadlifting, we want our legs to move but not our core, which is what rolling is going to help with. Additionally, rolling helps with rotational movements like walking or even walking your squats out. So for this exercise, you're going to start in your stomach and kick your leg to the other side. You want to keep the rest of your body as quiet as you can, and it's just the leg doing the movement. Once you become proficient in those first 2 movements, now you can move to the next one. And it's very important to do these in order. The ones we just looked at are easier for the body to do. It's going to be easier to teach your glutes that way. You don't start in calculus, you start at 1 + 1 = 2. The next exercise we're going to look at is a bird dog. Now I went over this exercise extensively in my McGill Big 3 video, and you can find a link for that down below. In that video, you're going to find a great progression of how to make it easier or harder depending on your level. The reason this exercise is so great because again, it's locking down your core, keeping your torso stable while letting your arms and legs move. And the key to this exercise is not to lift as high as you can, but to reach your arm and foot away from you as far as you can. Just like in the prone hip extension, get a foam roller or another item and place it on your back. You want that item to be perfectly still. Before we get into the 4th one, I'll let you know there's actually 2 more bonus exercises at the very end, so make sure to stay tuned the whole way. So now we're going to get into exercises that probably look a little more familiar to you. If you look around the gym, you're probably going to see people doing them. The next exercise is one of my favorites, and if you've been around the channel, you know how much I love it. It's a Romanian deadlift. The Romanian deadlift is awesome for core stability and engaging your glutes. In order to do this exercise, slowly lower the weight and push your hips back. You should start to feel tension growing in your glutes. Once that tension reaches its maximum level, you want to bring your hips forward. And this is where I see most people go wrong. So if your hips are coming forward, your shoulders need to come back as well. Take a look here what happens when I just bring my hips forward versus when I bring my hips forward and my shoulders back. The second way is a much safer and stronger way to perform this exercise. So here's the bonus 5th and 6th exercise, and that's simply squatting and deadlifting. Take what your body has learned in the first 4 exercises and apply it to this one. You can even use those previous exercises as a great warm-up. In addition to hip extension, we've talked about core stability quite a bit, and one of the things that always comes up with squat and deadlifting is wearing a lifting belt. Should you do it, or does it actually make your core weaker? Check out this video on the screen for all those answers, and I'll catch you on the next one.